he came over to Central after I got there, and we were in jazz band, and then we actually had a band in high school called Oversoul. And then we'd write our name on the wall, and then somebody would put an O at the end of it. It says Over Solo, because we were teenagers, and the whole band was just about everybody soloing as much as possible. But yeah, sixth grade was when we were first kind of introduced.
Okay, how old were you when you met the Dickinsons for the first time?
Well, I mean, Luther's 6 months older than me, so within days of being born, I probably met Luther somehow, you know. Cody came along in '76. I mean, literally, we've known each other all our lives. Yeah. There's no memory of them, before. You know, we just kind of all came into the world, and there we were.
Okay. So did y'all all feel like y'all had a special bond being second generation musicians?
Yeah. I mean, we were kids at like birthday parties and stuff like that, and it was us, like Luther and Cody, me, Baker's kids, and Winston Eggleston were all kind of, all at the same birthday parties. Baker's kid's a little bit younger than us, but so we kind of hung out here and there, but it wasn't until like high school. It was actually an Earth Day in 1989 that we all kind of showed up, and here we were, all scraggly, skinny, long-haired, degenerate little kids, like, oh man, like, let's go to my house, because I live right by the Shell. It was Earth Day at the Shell, and I was like, let's go to my house, like, let's play guitar or whatever. So got there, and I plugged into my PV, and was, Luther was impressed because I was playing outside of the pentatonic box with like one fret. And then it was like, boom, it was on, From there, it was, shortly thereafter, Luther got DDT together with Paul. So that's when it really kind of took hold,
So when did y'all decide to form Sons of Mud?
Well, it really coalesced, this year when my dad got sick. But we've been talking about doing it for a while. The first thing that we really did as Sons of Mudboy, quote unquote, was in 2005. Jim was still alive. Cody was out of town, and I think he was on tour with Hill Country Review. But we went down to the Zebra Ranch, and with Paul on drums, Luther and I on guitars, going back and forth singing different songs, Jim on piano, and we cut some stuff. Just kind of like, let's just do it. And that was the first time that we kind of we'd always played together. Luther and I especially, we'd always sort of, we call it three-legged puppy or whatever else, have these attempts to kind of get up and play all the stuff that we, stuff that I'd learned from my dad, stuff that he learned from his dad, stuff that we knew together. But this was the first time that it was really starting to kind of come together. And then when Jim passed, and then when my dad passed, it was just, that's when it kind of came into focus as sort of a continuation of this sort of stuff, because, both Jim and my dad had said to Luther and I respectively, somebody's got to keep singing these songs, like Ferry Lewis tunes and whatever else, Casey Jones, Brownsville, and all the other stuff that Mudboy did, So really, it's kind of always been in this sort of nebulous thing, and up until this past year is when it's really kind of coalesced, so to speak.
Okay, cool. I know you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but can you talk a little bit more about Big Ass Truck and like the formation of that group?
So that was the early '90s, and a buddy of mine. Okay, so Robbie Grant and I were in a band together called Thrill of Confusion. That morphed into a band called Fester. It's terrible. I take responsibility for that. So that band broke up, and we kind of just devolved into this noise making, and everybody, like me and Robbie were kind of over here, and the other guys were over here, and nobody liked each other very much. And so the band just kind of dissolved. But then Jared, who was in the Simple Tones, who now owns Shangri-La Records, called and said, hey, we got a CD or 7-inch release party. We had done a gig with him prior, and he liked it. This is Fester. Will you want to play the show? And he called me, and I was like, you know what? That band's not together anymore. I'll get something together, and we'll open the show for you. So I've been hanging out with Colin Butler, who was a DJ, and I'd gone to school with him. He was 3 or 4 years ahead of me at Central. So we've been hanging out, and the whole idea of a DJ turntablist with band had just kind of really starting to kind of come up, and Check Your Head had come out, and we were inspired by that. So I was like, yeah, let's do something. We didn't really know what. So then that gig kind of happened, and I was like, I called Robbie because we were still cool working together. Robert Barnett was friends with my brother. He lived down the street from me. He was a great drummer. I had done some stuff with Joe Boone here and there, who played bass. Alex Green played keyboards, and I'd worked with him at Squash Blossom, which was a health food restaurant back in the day. And so I just kind of randomly called people when we got together. And we kind of started writing stuff kind of fast. It was like there was a pretty palpable energy, like, this is cool. And the turntable thing was new. So played the show, it went well, and Andre Lyle and Gina Barker were like, hey, we got this little label, Sugar Ditch, you want to put out a 7-inch? It's like, yeah. So we went to Sam Phillips. We got together in like basically January of '93, and then by May we were at Sam Phillips with Roland James, the genius Roland James, recording.